Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Um, in the last class that we took, we were discussing about the role of public finance, right? Today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue with that topic, and we are going to write the remaining roles. So, we had gone ahead and talked about two important roles, allocative and distributive, right? Today, let us go ahead and take the third role that uh, the public finance goes ahead and follows. And that is the role of economic stabilization. So role number 3, economic stabilization. Now, how can one go about bringing economic stabilization? How to bring economic stabilization? We already saw in the needs part that look, there is a business cycle and public finance should play a counter cyclical role, right? That's exactly its role also. That when there is boom, it needs to manage inflation. And when there is recession, it needs to bring in growth, right? So that is the role of public finance. So write it with me, beta. Public finance plays a counter cyclical role. In recession, it increases spending, reduces taxes to boost demand. In inflation, in boom, it reduces spending, increases taxes to reduce inflation, or to cool down the demand, right? Therefore, it is able to manage unemployment, economic growth, price stability, right? It is able to go ahead and manage all of these because of managing the expenditure and the taxation part, right? So it helps in controlling unemployment, price stability, and maintaining economic balance. Maintaining economic balance. Okay. So that's the third important role of public finance. Now, the next important role is development role. Right. So we have seen it since last class multiple times that all these policies that it is bringing, new education policy or health policy or a PM Kisan Yojana, this is all the development growth programs, right? This is to accelerate growth in the economy, right? So it goes ahead and it also invests in capital formation. It also encourages private investment, right? But the ultimate aim is development and growth and development, right? So investment in capital formation through public finance accelerates growth, right? Education and skill development, agricultural support, industrial policy, and innovation, right? Encourages private investment by creating stable macroeconomic environment. By creating stable macroeconomic environment. Okay. Now, within development, you can also go ahead and think that there is also a key role in socio-economic transformation, right? माने चाहे मुझे women upliftment करना हो, चाहे मुझे poverty को कम करना हो, right? That is also there through the public finance. Okay. So public finance also plays a key role in poverty alleviation, employment generation, women empowerment, and rural development through targeted program. Through targeted program, right? Then these are the main four rules, right? But apart from this, you can also mention in the passing, one is fiscal federalism, right? So we have already talked about this in the needs part, and I'm not going to write it again. But whenever the state needs money, right? Then to provide the state money or to provide grant and aids to do centrally sponsored schemes, right? To ensure balanced regional development. Ki, aisa, we talked about horizontal and vertical equity. So to ensure horizontal equity, right? To ensure कि ऐसा ना हो कि एक स्टेट बहुत rich हो जाए और एक स्टेट बहुत poor रह जाए, right? There has to be regional equality that has to be maintained, right? So how do we go ahead and ensure all of that? Through public finance, by transferring the money in the right way, right? So that's also another important aspect. And within this, it has to also ensure debt and deficit management, right? We already talked about the FRBM Act, Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act, which actually ensures that fiscal responsibility stays with the government, right? That they monitor the fiscal deficit, the primary deficit, right? And the public debt level. So again, that's also a part of fiscal federalism. We have already written it in needs. So there is nothing new there, and you should be able to write that. Okay. Now, let us go ahead and let us begin with a new topic for the day. And that is basically your different criterias or different rules for equity. Right. So please write down this new topic, which is about your equity, concept of equity. Concept of equity, beta. Concept of equity comes through various principles. Okay. The first principle that we need to go ahead and we need to see, that is called as benefit received principle. So please write this down, that equity refers to the principle of fairness and justice in the distribution of economic resources and tax burden. तो हमें चाहिए कि हमारे रिसोर्सेज हैं वो इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो रहे हो, फेयरनेस हो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में भी और टैक्स कलेक्शन में भी, राइट? So in public finance, basically we are trying to use the taxation principles in such a way that equity guides taxation. Equity बताएगा कि taxes कैसे charge करने हैं, right? Now try to understand here, and this is very important, that equity is not equal to equality. Equity is not equal to equality. दोनों बहुत ही अलग चीजें हैं, right? Equality means equal. माने इक्वालिटी का क्या मतलब हो गया कि अच्छा अगर ये एक पाई है, so whether this person is rich or poor, each of them get equal. 50% rich को मिल गया इस इंडिविजुअल ए को, एंड 50% बी को मिल गया इंडिविजुअल बी को. That is equality. But equity means that no, I understand that person B is poor. And since person B is poor, person B deserves more of the economic pie than person A. So equity recognizes differences in need, capacities, and circumstances. That there can be a difference which can be there. And we need to account for that difference. Okay? So please write equity recognizes difference in needs, capacity, and circumstances. Right? So the two things are very, very different. Right? Now, of course, there are two type of equities. The first one that we have, that is called as vertical equity. And the second one that we have, that is called as horizontal equity. Vertical equity, अगर मैं लोगों के हिसाब से बात करूं, it means that there are people who are rich, there are people who are poor. People have different abilities to pay, and each individual according to their ability. Right? I can arrange people in different levels of income, right? And each individual should be paying according to their level of income. So that is called as vertical equity. Vertical equity, right? So let's write this down. It implies that each individual pays according to their ability to pay. According to their ability to pay, right? It supports progressive taxation where tax rate increases with income. Right? It is based on ability to pay principle. It is based on ability to pay principle, right? So a person who has 10 lakh as his salary and another person who has 3 lakh as his salary, the person who has 10 lakh should be paying more, right? So that is your vertical equity. Vertical equity suggests the ability to pay principle, right? So please write down the burden of tax falling on every individual should be same. अब इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि burden अलग हो. Burden has to be still the same. Is it? Is the screen still frozen? Because it's working fine for me. Like what I see, the screen is going around fine. Ah, okay. Okay. So what we are saying is that it does not mean that the burden has to be different. The burden must be the same, right? For example, when I charge a rich and when I charge a poor, the way that the burden that falls on them, that should look similar. Like, for example, okay, no problem, I'm earning 10,000. You're earning 1 lakh, right? But when you don't charge in absolute terms, right? 10,000 में you go ahead and you charge me 100 rupees as tax. I find out my burden. 1 lakh में I charge you 1,000 as tax. You find out your burden. If the burden is the same, then ability to pay principle is working fine, right? The burden that falls on each individual should be the same. It should not be the case that the burden is lower on the poor. We are not saying that. We are saying that if the burden has to be equal, then the tax paid by poor should be less. Only then the burden can be equal. This is what we are saying. Right? But the question arises the basis of, or how do you measure the ability to pay for that matter? Right? Is the ability to pay measured on the basis of income, consumption, or wealth? Which measure will you use to understand who has more ability to pay? So theoretical work suggests that using consumption, that who consumes how much, will be the right attribute to check the ability to pay of that individual, right? So write down how to measure the ability to pay or the burden. Income, consumption, or wealth, right? Most theoretical work suggest consumption as the measure to be used. Consumption should be used, right? Okay, now we have said that it supports progressive taxation. Progressive taxation means what? Charging more tax from rich, right? So suppose if poor is paying 10% tax, rich can go ahead and pay 30% tax. Charging more tax from